Now to that GMA exclusive. Former New York Giant player Josh Brown sharing his side of the story for the first time about the domestic abuse allegations he says could end his career. ABC's Paula Ferris sat down with him. Good morning, Paula.
Good morning to you, Robin. You know, Josh Brown is breaking his silence because he wants people to understand the entirety of his story. He admits he was a failed husband, but he also says that his journey of rehabilitation and healing began long before the Giants cut him last fall. And this morning, Josh Brown is asking for another chance.
All right, here's Josh Brown.
Josh Brown was at the pinnacle of his professional career, starting kicker for the NFL's New York Giants.
Josh Brown connects.
He had just signed a $4 million contract, but then it all came crashing down for the 14-year veteran.
911, what are you reporting? My husband is really upset right now.
The world now thinks that I beat my wife, and I have never hit this woman. I never hit her. Not once.
Brown was arrested in May of 2015 and booked for assault against his wife, Molly.
I reach for the phone, I grab the top of the phone, she screams, I back away, she leaves. 35 minutes later, I'm in handcuffs.
The deputy says, quote, husband grabbed wife's wrist during an argument, causing her pain, bruising, and a small abrasion. Husband was arrested and booked for assault, and he said, quote, I believe that Josh assaulted Molly.
That's what he said.
Do you feel you assaulted her?
No, I did not. I did not touch her on the wrist.
Brown was not charged in the incident, but the King County Sheriff's Office in Washington State began an investigation into allegations of abuse by Brown of his wife Molly. And in October of 2016, they released more than 100 pages of documents detailing allegations and seeming admissions of physical, verbal, and emotional abuse.
She claims you were physically violent on more than 20 occasions.
I dispute it. I absolutely dispute it.
Included in those documents, highly confidential journals filled with personal details. He says he was instructed to write them as part of his marriage therapy at the time.
These were your deepest, darkest thoughts and secrets made public.
These were the things that you say to yourself and then you burn them. And I didn't.
He says Molly turned those journals over to sheriff's investigators in 2016, years after they were written, as part of an investigation. And just days after the journals were made public by the sheriff's office, he was cut from the Giants, and he's been out of a job since.
What did the league know and when?
The league has known everything.
You're saying that you're completely honest with the league. Are you angry at how they've handled everything?
The fact that my private things are being used against me, that's hard to swallow.
You're talking about your journals.
I'm talking about my journals. I had to learn all that and write that down in order to heal. And now you're telling me that I'm going to be punished for trying to correct the things in my life that needed to be changed.
Brown's own words, things he never thought would be public, had come back to haunt him.
You said, quote, I have physically, verbally, and emotionally abused my wife, Molly. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that?
I mean, I had put my hands on her. I kicked the chair. I held her down. Like, the holding down was the worst moment in our marriage. I never hit her. I never slapped her. I never choked her. I never did those types of things.
When you say that you physically abused her, but you didn't hit her, how are people supposed to reconcile that, Josh?
They're not supposed to. What I did was wrong, period. Domestic violence is not just physical abuse. We're talking intimidation and threats, the attempt to control, body language. An abuser is going to abuse to a certain degree to acquire some kind of reaction.
And you take responsibility for everything you did and said during your marriage?
I'm fully accountable to every bit of it.
Make no excuses?
None.
He says he'd been actively rehabilitating himself years before that 2015 arrest.
You know, I spoke publicly about this at men's groups, at churches. This was not something that I necessarily hid.
What have you lost?
Everything.
His divorce finalized in December, his career possibly over, and his reputation shattered.
What do you have left?
I have my daughter. That's the best thing in the world.
His daughter Georgia, whom he splits custody of with his ex-wife. As for what's next,
I want to be able to play again. I want to be able to continue to write this story, continue to be a voice for change.
Is there any room for second, third chances in the NFL?
Maybe. We'll see. If it doesn't happen, I'm fine.
And he says whether or not he deserves another chance is not up for him to decide. We did reach out on multiple occasions to his ex-wife, Molly, and she is not commenting.
We heard him say that he wants to play again. Where does the NFL stand in its investigation?
Well, bottom line, this investigation remains active and open. In fact, the commissioner, Roger Goodell, said yesterday when the Giants cut him last fall, they didn't have all of the facts. They're still gathering the facts. In fact, I've learned that a couple of investigators from the league will be flying to Seattle next week to interview Josh. But I asked him, I said, point blank, do you expect any team to come near you? And he said, quote, your guess is as good as mine.
Probably so. All right. Thank you, Paula, for that.
Thank you, Paula.